UFC Perth is going down the 27th of September, and today I'll be going over my full card early predictions. We've got 15 fights on this card, so quite a lot to go through. We've got a lot of debuting guys. And yeah, man, let's hop right into it. With the first fight being, I don't imagine this will be the first fight, but it is Jonathan Micallef. He's taking on Oban Elliott. Now, I don't want to hype myself up a little bit, but I didn't pick against him. I actually bet the spread against Oban Elliott. He was like minus, oh my gosh, I think he was minus 600 against Seok Young Ko. And I know, one, that Oban Elliott is not really a finisher. You know, he's not a power puncher. He's got decent, takedowns in wrestling, but he's not really a finisher. And therefore, I think that Ko could win at least a round. And he goes out in there and dominates Oban in the grappling, which kind of did surprise me, And Ko is really not looked at as a grappler, which is kind of weird. He's really not a grappler. Like, if you go watch Seok Young Ko's all of his fights on the regional scene, he doesn't grapple a whole lot. Now, he did grapple against Igor Cavalcanti, who's just a big-ass Brazilian guy who doesn't know how to grapple, so he used it there. But for the most part, the guy's a typical striker, and Oban was trying to take him down, and Ko is reversing him and taking him down. So that was eye-opening. I'd never been a huge Oban Elliott fan. I didn't think he was a great fighter, and I was very shocked at the line when he was taking on Ko. And yeah, I faded him pretty hardly in that one. And he's taking on Micallef, who I thought Josias would beat. And now looking at it, I mean, Josias, just from watching that fight back, obviously I haven't watched every single, my film for the whole entire card, but man, Josias looked like shit. Micallef I wasn't very high on this guy. He goes on the Contender Series and beats Muhammad Adu, who is kind of a grappler as well. And I thought of Micallef as a grappler. He is a grappler, a good jiu-jitsu guy, a little bit sloppy on the feet, tends to get hurt. You can see that in some of these fights he's got. In the Alden Bates fight, he got finished. And yeah, he's a little bit sloppy on the feet. In this fight versus Josias, he's on the back foot just kicking the shit out of him. And then the kicks sounded like they were gunshots and baseball bats just hitting his, ribs. And it was crazy. But these shots were very telegraphed. Like he pretty much kicked every single time, and Josias wouldn't counter the kicks. Therefore, he kind of just lost the fight based on that. And yeah, what I will say about Micallef is he looks gigantic for welterweight. Like, you just take a look. I'm sorry, he's a lightweight, right? Welterweight, right? Welterweight. He is huge. Not only does he have a 77-inch reach, but the guy's just a big dude, so that's something to look out for. His physicality could play dividends in this fight. But yeah, man, to me, Micallef is a guy who I think lacks boxing quite a bit. I don't think his footwork's that great. And yeah, we'll take a look at the odds here. I haven't even looked at them. It's a pretty close fight on paper. I do think Elliott's a better striker. I think he's got a better calf kick. I think he's got better movement, and I just think he's a better striker than Micallef. And if Oban doesn't crash the pocket, which is something I could be concerned about in this fight, Micallef's probably just going to kick the shit out of him at range. Because if the fight does hit the mat, I do think that Elliott's probably a little bit better with his control and his wrestling. But Micallef is pretty crafty off his back as well. So we'll see what happens here. Micallef definitely impressed me in his last fight. But I'm still not completely sold on him. So for me, I think that Elliott does win this fight. Some pretty good odds you're looking at in this one, just because Elliott kind of got showed up in his last one. So you're looking at minus 130, which is a pretty good number. Maybe something I'll take a shot at, but I do need to go back and watch, of course, to make my final prediction on that one. But we'll move on. I do think Elliott wins the fight by decision. We'll move on to the next one where we've got Andre Petroski taking on Cam Rowston. Now, Rowston just got off the Contender Series 5 days, 14 hours ago, where he beat Brandon Holmes, knocked him out. I did pick Holmes in that one. I thought that Rowston is hittable. He's a balanced fighter, and I will give him that. His striking is okay. He's quite big for the division, as you can see here, 6'3". And yeah, man, Rowston, I don't know how much of a fan I am of him. We'll take a look at the odds here. Petroski should be a bigger favorite, I think, in my opinion. Rowston was pretty much dominated by Torres Finney on the mat, and Petroski's actually got solid grappling, right? So if he can go ahead and get Rowston to the ground, he'll probably be able to win. And Rowston's no slouch on the ground, but he hasn't had success against good competition there, right? In these fights, yeah, he's beating these guys, but look at the records, they're just not great. And Rowston's a little bit sloppy, a little bit uncoordinated. I'm not exactly sure he, is a UFC level fighter. I'll be honest with you. His skills are good, but he doesn't have the athleticism of a professional athlete. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not even trying to be an asshole, but I do like watching fighters and that are good athletes and that belong kind of here. I'm not sold on Rowston completely. Like I said, I do think he is skilled, but I don't think he's very good. And with that being said, Petroski has proven that he's able to go out and beat some good fighters. Obviously training at Gracie Philly down there. Who's their coach? I can't remember. But with Sean Brady and Joe Pfeiffer and those guys, Pat Sabatini, Petroski is similar to them, right? These guys get you in half guard, and their control from half guard is excellent, right? So a big guy like Cam Rowston, I think, is going to have a hard time getting up. And Petroski's not fun to watch. I faded him big time in the Edmund Shabazian fight, where I was in attendance at UFC Atlanta. And yeah, I faded Petroski quite a bit in that one. I was pretty confident that Shabazian would go out there and dominate that fight. And he did. It was a close fight, I guess, on paper, and I think it was like minus 130. And I was all over Edmund Shabazian to win that fight, and he dominated the fight, defended the takedowns from Petroski. Petroski on the feet might not be as good as Cam Rowston, but Rowston's not some crazy striker. He's not. So my pick would be Petroski. I think he wins this fight by control time and racks it up. A little bit of a boring decision because Petroski's not a very fun fighter, but he does have high enough level grappling to go out here and win this fight. Rowston, I'm just not sold on him. I'm not. So give me Andre Petroski here. I think that this line will widen quite a bit. So another fight I'm looking to go ahead and do film on pretty quickly because I do want to be able to hop in on Petroski and potentially Oban Elliott. So give me Petroski by a decision. I think he wins the fight potentially 30-27. We'll move on to the next one where we've got the debuting Louie Sutherland taking on Justin Tafa. Now, I've watched a little bit of Sutherland. Obviously, I know about Justin Tafa. And this is just I won't lie, like skill for skill, these guys aren't great, but it will be fun and entertaining to watch because Sutherland is going to bring the fight. I haven't watched a whole lot of him. I just kind of watched a highlight video that was maybe 2 or 3 minutes long, but he's an ultra aggressive guy. He's big as hell, as you can see from the picture. I mean, look at the dude's fucking traps. I don't know if that's another person. That's another person behind him. Is that another person? You guys see what I mean? You see his head. Is that his traps? Hold on, Okay. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, those are his traps. Yeah, this guy's gigantic, okay? I'm sorry. But that is like an optical illusion if you see it, right? You see another guy behind him, maybe like the top of it right here, but yeah, this guy's fucking gigantic. He looks like he's on roids. Yeah, you can imagine this guy's weighing in at the 265 weight limit as well as Tafa. So we're going to see some either sloppy or exciting fighting here. Sutherland, I know, is a guy who might try to mix in his wrestling from what I've seen. I don't know a whole lot about him, but I don't know if I need to know a whole lot about him. He's big as hell. He hits hard. He's not as good of a striker as Tafa, 100%. But if he can go to the clinch, go to the wrestling, he might be able to have some success. My pick would be Tafa here. I trust him a little bit more. And we'll take a look at these odds where Justin Tafa, I'm sorry, I'm not finding it. Hello. Is minus 140. I think that Tafa should win this fight. He's not a trustworthy fighter. He has no grappling at all. But he does have hands. And from what I've seen of Sutherland, he can be countered. He's got 3 losses on his record. I do believe those are from people that have taken him down or gassed him out a little bit. But I still need to watch these guys again. So my pick would be Tafa here by a KO in the first. But it could go either way. You never really know. We'll move on to another 2 debuting guys. We've got Brando Pericic versus Elisha Ellison. Now, I've watched a little bit of these guys. Same kind of thing, right? A little bit of highlights. To me, I think Ellison is going to be the fighter trying to get this to the ground a little bit. But on the feet, he's aggressive. He hits hard. And same with Pericic. He's aggressive as hell, and he hits hard. Obviously, he's been submitted before. But I believe he is training at City Kickboxing right here, as you can see. He does have a nice clinch game. He'll throw big knees and elbows from that position. I don't know a whole lot about either of these guys. I think Ellison actually trains with Chase Hooper. Might not be too confident about that. We'll take a look at the odds where they have Ellison as a slight underdog here. I am going to pick Brando. I just think I've seen a little bit more of a complete game. We'll see if Ellison can take him down and get the fight to where he's better. But he's not a slouch on the feet. He is a little bit sloppy. I think Pericic has some, combat experience in kickboxing or Muay Thai, whatever it is. And he looks pretty solid on the feet. But once again, man, I'm not too sure about either if these guys are high level enough. I think this fight was actually supposed to be on the Contender Series, if I'm not mistaken. But we got it here. Both the guys are aggressive. I'm fine with it. I think it'll be a finish. I think it'll be a pretty fun fight. So I'm okay with it. Let's move on. I'm going Pericic by KO to the next one, where we've got Jamie Mullarkey taking on Relando Bedoya. These are the bottom feeders of the lightweight division. Relando Bedoya has lost 3 fights in a row. Chaos Williams, a split decision. I believe he lost to Song Kanan and Jai Herbert. Yeah, man. Mullarkey, this guy's been finished by a lot of people, right? He hasn't fought in a year and 4 months, which is quite a bit of time. Mullarkey, in my opinion, is probably a little bit better. Bedoya is a guy who's got good volume. He'll kick the shit out of your legs, but he doesn't really let the hands go. And when he does let the hands go, he's not a big power puncher. And I think that's kind of the downfall of Jamie Mullarkey, is fighting guys that hit hard and that really can hurt him. And I don't think that Bedoya has the ability to really hurt him. Now, Bedoya is tough as they come, man. This guy, you see Peru. Anybody from Peru, man, just expect they're going to be able to take some fucking punches. James Law on top, some other guys down in Peru. These guys can take a lot of damage. Jose Medina is kind of one of those fighters that is from South America. And these guys can eat shots. And you saw that in the Chaos fight where he took some big ones and he just kind of walked through it. And he is a tough guy, but he can be outskilled, as seen here. And if you're losing to Song Kanan, man, that's not great. Mullarkey does have some skills. His hands are pretty solid. His wrestling's okay. And yeah, I think he's just skill for skill the better fighter here. And Jamie Mullarkey's been finished by everybody. But Bedoya doesn't strike me as a guy who is a big finisher. The Tapology seems, the community seems to agree a little bit. Yeah, I think Mullarkey wins a decision here. But I wouldn't be too confident either way. I'm sure the odds are relatively close for this one, where you're going to have a pick'em. Interesting. I think Mullarkey is the better side here. Like I said, not too confident. I know Bedoya is probably getting a little bit better work. I know he's at Shoot Box now in Brazil, so probably getting some better work, getting a little bit better. Mullarkey been out for a year and 4 months, so I understand the line. I'd probably cap the line right about where it is. So I just think for now I'm going to pick Mullarkey. I think he's a little bit more skilled, but definitely something I could switch up in the future, especially because a guy like Bedoya won't go away, and he kind of just needs to land one shot, right? And even if he can hit him with a good, clean shot, he can hurt Mullarkey, right? We know that. So, yeah, Mullarkey's more skilled, probably should win the fight, but Bedoya, is tough. He won't go away for sure, and if he does somehow land something clean, it could hurt Mullarkey. So it's a bit of a hairy one here. I think Bedoya KO is possible, but I also think Mullarkey by decision is probably the right way to go for my early picks. So I'm going to pick Jamie Mullarkey here by a decision. And we'll move on to the next fight, where we have Luana Carolina. She's taking on Michelle Montague. And yeah, man, I'm not too sure I'm sold on Michelle. She looks like a bit of a Ronda Rousey clone from what I've seen of the highlights. Once again, I've just watched 2-minute highlights of this lady fighting. And sloppy on the feet, 100%. She wants to get the fight to the ground. I believe all of her wins are coming by way of submission. She's fought on IMAF a little bit, as you can see in some of her highlights, but she's sloppy on the feet. This is a complete fighter in Luana Carolina, who's on a 3-fight winning streak. Maybe not against great competition, as you can see. Been out for a year. This is a winnable fight for Carolina, and I'm looking to fade Michelle Montague just because I don't believe her style is a complete style, right? I know she's fought a little bit in the PFL, but we'll take a look at the odds here, where Carolina's a plus 155 dog. I'm going to go with Luana Carolina, a little bit more complete. Her takedown defense is okay. But yeah, man, let me go with Luana Carolina. I'm going to go by a decision. Let's move on to the next one, where we've got Colby Thicknesse. He's taking on Josias Musasa, who was a massive favorite versus Carlos Vera. Ended up getting head kicked and submitted by Carlos Vera, and shocked me a little bit. I wouldn't say it shocked me a whole lot, because Musasa is a guy who, I didn't necessarily know if he'd get a contract. He's a little bit green, a little bit new to the sport. And what you know about Musasa is you can see the KO wizard. The guy has hands. He hits hard. He's explosive. We'll take a look at the odds here, which is I'm kind of looking forward to seeing if I can find them. And I don't think we have any. Am I mistaken here? I'm not seeing the odds here. So yeah, I'll just try to cap the fight myself and see if I can maybe kind of talk myself into giving the odds for this fight. Now, Thicknesse, obviously the guy fought Alexandre Topuria, and didn't look great there. Took that fight on really short notice. Trains with Volkanovski, not a full camp. He is got some slick jiu-jitsu, 100%, and that could be something that Musasa's got to be worried about, especially losing to Carlos Vera. It's not a good loss. He beat Otari Tanzalovi, who's actually pretty good fighter, and it was a tight fight. I didn't necessarily know if Musasa would get a contract for that one, but Tanzalovi's a pretty good fighter. And, yeah, man, his takedown defense, Musasa's looked pretty good. I think he ultimately got dropped in the Vera fight, and then he got submitted. And that was a shocker to me, man. I really, Carlos Vera is one of the worst fighters I've ever seen. So that's not a good loss. But about Thicknesse, man, he looks uncomfortable on the feet. He can't be pressured. It looks like he doesn't want to fight, power punchers, and really, really was backing up a whole lot. And I know it's Alexandre Topuria, but Musasa is going to try to put that pressure on him. So I think my pick would be Musasa by finish here. But it could go either way. It is a tight fight. I'd probably line the fight minus 175 on Musasa. Or minus 200, but I wouldn't be too confident about it just because both these guys are a little bit newer. Musasa's a little bit new to MMA, more than Thicknesse. So yeah, it's interesting. I would probably say Musasa opens and closes as a favorite here. Give me Josias Musasa by a finish, and we'll move on to the next one. Navajo Stirling, he's taking on Rodolfo Bellato. And the odds here that we've got, let me see if I can go ahead and find a minus 220 on Navajo Stirling. I can't lay it down. He hasn't looked minus 240 or 220 in any of the fights he's fought. Obviously, I faded him against Ivan Arslan. I thought that Arslan would beat him. I'm sorry, voice crack. I thought Arslan would beat him. And Arslan looked good. He looked good early on, got a little bit wild, won the first round, and was really tagging Navajo Stirling. And I'm just not a believer in Stirling at all, really. I don't think he's all that good. I've been looking to fade him. Tuckos, I knew he'd beat Tuckos. But, yeah, I've been looking to fade Stirling. But what I can say about him, he's big. He has, that kickboxing background. And he is a pretty good athlete as well. But I'm not too sold on him. He's taking on Bellato. I think the odds are correct here. And I imagine that the odds will go a little bit wider. And I would take a shot on Bellato. We'll see if the odds extend. But yeah, Bellato, I was at this fight against Paul Craig. A very weird fight. He didn't look good early on, wasn't kind of pressing the action, was just letting Paul Craig kick the shit out of him from the outside, which is something you can't do. And Bellato's interesting, man, because he is very skilled. I really do mean that when I say that, because he has hard low kicks. His hands are pretty heavy. He's tough, and he's got solid wrestling and solid BJJ. And my favorite thing about Rodolfo Bellato is his cardio. I think he's got good cardio, and that's something I've pointed out in the past, especially when, he's up against these guys like the Jimmy Crute fight, not looking good early, and then he comes back and wins a couple rounds. And he's a very hittable fighter, and he wears damage, and he can get hurt. He's been knocked out twice by Vitor Petrino, and I imagine that Stirling's going to look for some good knockouts, but he is a slow start. He does pick his shots a little bit too much for my liking. I like Bellato here, honestly. I'm not too confident about it, and I obviously need to go back and look at the film. But Bellato is skilled, and he will be there, right? He's not going to just, gas out like a Tuckos or gas out like a Arslan. He is going to be in the fight for the whole entire 15 minutes, so that's something you got to be prepared for. But Stirling is the better fighter at range. Can he defend the takedowns? Potentially. But I do like Bellato's skill set, and I do think he is a bit of an underrated fighter. So I am going to go with Rodolfo Bellato here, but I wouldn't be too confident on it. So, yeah, I'm not too confident at all. But I think that he is being overlooked in this matchup, especially because Stirling Tell me one time he's looked minus 200, or he was like minus 800 here. Did he look minus 200 or minus whatever, minus 400 against Ursuline? Absolutely not. He lost the first round, and he was getting tagged up. So I like Rodolfo Bellato here as a value. So give me Bellato here. I think he wins the fight by submission or decision. And let's move on. Loma Lookboonmee. She's taking on Alexia Thainara, and Alexia is very good. I like Alexia quite a bit, and Loma's no slouch. She's got some good wins on her record. But I like Alexia, man. I think she's definitely a strawweight to look out for. She's big, she's physical, she hits hard, good jiu-jitsu, and I was impressed with her Contender Series win, and then I was also impressed with her Molly McCann when I believe she was almost an underdog in that fight. I think I took her by submission in that one, and it cashed good. So give me Thainara here. I like her quite a bit. I know the odds are relatively close. Yeah, and they should be because Luma's not a horrible fighter at all. So I like Thainara here. Let's move on by decision. This fight. Now, I've actually done film on this fight already, and it's just because I kind of wanted to get a read on it. And this one's interesting, man, because, we've seen Charlie Campbell go out there and knock guys out. He's got heavy hands. He is pretty solid, quick, good kickboxing. Nice low kicks and good combinations. I like his striking quite a bit. He's taking on Tom Nolan, who I think has vastly improved. I will say that. And I have been looking to fade Tom Nolan. I faded him against Slava Claus. And yeah, man, honestly, there's been issues with Tom Nolan 100%. He's 25 years old. He's a big lightweight. Doesn't have only a half an inch reach advantage, which is a little bit of a concern. He is a little bit wild in there. He's got a nice bag of strikes. He'll throw a lot of different things, spinning elbows, spinning back kicks. He's got a good jab, got a good front kick, low kicks. He's got a whole lot to offer on the feet, and he's also shown off his grappling quite a bit as well. Versus Slava Claus, he showed that he's an active guard. He's very skilled. He is very skilled. But the one thing wrong with Tom Nolan is his striking defense and his chin and his recklessness at times. But I can also say that Charlie Campbell is reckless too. Obviously he got finished by Chris Duncan. That wasn't really a reckless. That's just kind of something that happened, But you can see in these fights, he is a little bit reckless and he does throw wild. And there are times where he can be countered. And he's taken on Tom Nolan. And I do think that, like I said before, Nolan has really improved, from these fights where he's getting knocked out by Nicholas Mata, getting hurt by Victor Martinez, dropped by Victor Martinez, getting hurt by Alex Reyes at one point. It's a huge concern, you know what I mean? Especially taking a level up against Slava Claus, and he did look good. His defense of striking looked a lot better. His hands were up. He didn't make stupid mistakes, so I can see improvement. Now, is it enough improvement to go out there and beat a dangerous striker like Charlie Campbell, who I'm pretty high on? I like Charlie Campbell's uppercut. I like his hands. He's very quick. He is the quicker and more dynamic fighter here. And he's not just a small lightweight at all. It's not like he's going to be at a huge size discrepancy. And what I will say about Campbell is I don't think he wins the volume game here, but he can win off moments. And as the line stands, he is currently plus 140, which I think is, I do think you give the slight edge to Nolan in terms of the odds just because he's been a lot more active. Charlie Campbell hasn't fought in quite a bit. 1 year and 5 months is a long, long layoff. But yeah, man, to me, the more explosive guy is Campbell. He's got the upside to finish the fight. And Nolan does have the upside to finish the fight, but not as much as Campbell. I think that this is a really good, exciting fight, and I'm very excited for it. Honestly, my pick is with Nolan. It's a guy I've been looking to fade, but he does seem to be improving, so in the areas that have caused him problems. He's still a guy who can be backed up to the fence. He can drop his hands, and he still did drop his hands against Slava Claus and got hit with some big shots. Slava Claus was hitting him to the body with the right hook. I believe it was the right hook. And then finally he set it up and went over the top, and he hit Nolan pretty hard with it. Nolan ate it, but there are some still defensive mistakes and habits that he has. So I'm not too confident in saying Nolan wins. I think that this is a sneaky under fight. I think that both guys are dangerous enough to go out here and win inside the distance. And I think there is upside for both guys to win inside the distance. So maybe if they give us a good under 2.5, maybe at a pick 'em or minus 130 or even plus money, that's something I'm looking at for sure. So I think that Nolan's got more upside here. And I hate to say that because I have been a little bit critical in the past about him. And I do like his skills, and I think he has potential. And he does seem to be getting better and improving. So I'm going to go with Tom Nolan here for my pick. And let's move on to Jake Matthews taking on Neil Magny. Jake Matthews, man, I just watched him as well in Nashville. So he had a great performance in Nashville. He went out there and dominated Chidi and Jokawani, finished him in the first round with the rear naked choke, and he's on a little 3-fight win streak. He seems to be improving quite a bit. His cardio's good, his boxing, his hands are good, his jiu-jitsu and takedown defense are good. He's a very balanced and good fighter. And I think that's going to be enough to go out here and beat Neil Magny, who is currently plus 350, who literally just won. Like, this guy 4 weeks ago just won. So, yeah, man, for me, I think that Matthews is kind of coming into his best years right now. I don't think he'll probably 1 or 2 years later. I'm not sure what Jake Matthews' peak is. He's a guy who seems to be a little bit interesting. He does get hurt at times. Like, against the Semmelsberger fight was very weird. I don't know where that is, but very weird fight. He lost to Morales, not a big problem, but he landed some good shots on Morales. He kept it competitive. And I do think that Matthews is game enough to go out here and beat Neil Magny. He should win everywhere, So give me Jake Matthews here. Younger, faster, better boxer, better hands, and I expect him to win this fight pretty easily. So we'll move on to the next one where we've got Jack Jenkins. He's taking on Ramon Taveras. Now, Ramon Taveras is going ahead and moving up to featherweight. Not sure how much I like that. He does seem to be quite small at bantamweight. But yeah, man, these odds here, we'll take a look. Jack Jenkins minus 300. Man, I don't think Jack Jenkins is as good as people think, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Gabriel Santos dismantled him. I know that there was a head kick and that kind of wobbled Santos, and Santos is very good. And I don't want to hold that win or that loss too much against Jenkins. But he is a guy that I don't think is all that good. He's got hard low kicks, and that's probably the best thing about him. His hands are pretty good. I think Taveras overall is the faster and better boxer, in my opinion. I think he has better combinations. He hits harder. His counters are better than Jack Jenkins. But the kicking of Jenkins could give him problems. The grappling potentially of Jenkins could give him problems. I would kind of line this fight early for me around minus 175 on Jenkins. I just don't think he's all that great, and I definitely don't think he's going to be live for a finish here. He's not a huge finisher, you know what I mean? And yeah, man, I thought he lost the Emmers fight, lost to Mariscal, lost to Gabriel Santos. Took him a while to beat Herbert Burns, which is just not good. And I think that Ramon Taveras, he's got good hands, man. I know he lost to Davey Grant, where I was actually big on Taveras to go out there and beat Davey Grant. And he got kind of schooled by Grant. He didn't really pull the trigger as much as I would have liked to see him go. But he landed some good shots. He's got nice counters, and he is the better boxer here, 100%. So we'll see if Jenkins can get his kicks going. And maybe potentially his wrestling, but the hands and who's the more dangerous guy with the hands and just the standing for me is probably Taveras. So I think there's some upside in him at plus 200, was it? So yeah, I think the line's quite wide. But yeah, I think that Jenkins is a better fighter, more complete. So give me Jack Jenkins here, and we'll move on to the next one where we've got Ivan Arslan taking on Jimmy Crute, the featured fight. Yeah, Jimmy Crute should not be this big of a favorite, 100%. He's not. He's still getting wins. Who did he beat last time? Prachniow. Come on, man. That's not too impressive. I did take him to submit Prachniow, and it was plus money, so I loved that. But it's still Jimmy Crute. Arslan has shown this guy. He's got good takedown defense. Make no mistake, and he does hit hard. I think that Arslan's got quite a bit of value here, and just thinking about it, I've done quite a bit of looking into Arslan because I did bet him against Navajo Stirling. I think that this is a good fight for Arslan. This is one I'm definitely going to go ahead and watch film on because I think Arslan can smoke him, especially if he can stuff the takedowns. And Arslan doesn't have slouchy takedown or bad takedown defense. It's pretty solid from what I remember seeing. So I'm going to go back and watch it. And I still think Arslan's a UFC level fighter. I definitely think he's got better hands than Crute, and he's not as sloppy as Crute, and he's got the power to put him out. He's got good low kicks as well, which we've seen is a problem for Jimmy Crute. So yeah, man, this is a Arslan fight to win. He's plus 195. This is a very good underdog that I imagine is going to probably close a little bit closer, but I'm going to go ahead and do film on that one for sure. But yeah, man, give me Ivan Arslan here by finish. I think he'll finish Jimmy Crute and knock him out. Let's move on. The co-main event, Junior Tafa taking on Ebo Aslan. I mean, just disgusting because I was at the fight where Tucko submitted Junior Tafa, and it was a disgrace, because I'm sitting there watching. I didn't bet on, I don't know if I bet on Tafa. I did bet on Tafa because I thought the line was way too close. And I'm sitting there having a great time. I'm at the UFC fights, and I'm watching Junior Tafa, and Tucko is shooting takedowns, and Tafa's just not defending, but he's hitting him. He's hitting him with elbows, and he's hitting him with, shit, but he's not grabbing an underhook and defending the takedowns and getting taken down. And then he lost the fight because of it. So it was a frustrating watch, and I don't want to trust these guys, any of them, because both these guys are 2-fight losing streaks. Aslan was afraid to pull the trigger last time out. I don't know, man. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? I'm not too sure why this is the co-main event, first of all, and why this fight, both of these guys are even, I guess Aslan should be in the promotion, but Tafa, I don't know. I think Tafa's, I still watch Tafa, and I like his striking, man. He is a good striker, like 100%. Like, he fades back well. He's got sharp footwork, and he's got a nice right hand. Like, he's no slouch on the feet 100%, especially at 205 where he looks athletic, and he's more athletic than Aslan. But I just don't know. I guess I'm going to pick Junior Tafa once again, who's 6-4 in the UFC, or in MMA, which is horrible because I still like Tafa's striking. I still think he's a good striker, man. I'm going to go with Tafa. I'm not confident at all. The line here, you got minus 142 on Ibo Aslan. I wouldn't be confident anywhere you go on this one, so we'll move on to the next one. The main event, Oberg taking on Dominic Reyes. It's hard for me to pick Reyes. I've been wanting to fade him for quite a while now. He gets a win over Anthony Smith. Didn't want to fade him there, but I wanted to fade him against Krylov. And Krylov got out there and got smoked, just like Bogdan Guskov smoked Krylov. Reyes, I'm still not thinking that he's the same fighter, man. I think that Oberg's going to kill him. And I mean that humbly. Oberg has not taken nearly the amount of damage. He hasn't been finished like Reyes has been finished by Ryan Spann. And I like Reyes. He's still solid striking. He has good hands, good footwork. But Oberg does just about everything better than him. And the last time I believe Oberg fought a southpaw, it might have been Ihor Poteria, but it was also Kennedy Njekwu, right, who finished him. So maybe that's something to look at. But it's got to be a time. There's going to be a time where I'm going to be able to fade Dominic Reyes. And this is the time, man. I got to fade him. I think that Oberg's the right side here. He's younger. He's faster. He is the more dynamic and explosive fighter. And I think that he's going to win the fight. So, yeah, man, I just, you're getting finished by Ryan Spann. It's just a problem for me. And I know Reyes is still a good fighter, but it's still getting finished by Ryan Spann, right? So, yeah, man, I like Oberg here. I wouldn't be too confident, and I do need to. This is a fight I'm definitely going to do some digging into because the odds are closer than I expected. I kind of thought Oberg would be minus 250. And I'm interested to see what the line opened. Minus 165. He's gone to a bigger favorite, and I think he should be a bigger favorite. He's a better fighter. But, yeah, man, overall, this card seems like it's very good for betting, in my opinion. There's a lot of fighters I like to bet on here, so we're looking pretty good here. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be taking a look at the Urslan one for sure. So make sure you follow me on Twitter. That'll be posted. And yeah, man, that's going to wrap it up for me. I hope y'all enjoyed. My official predictions will come out probably after the next week of DWCS or maybe before that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.